Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. I hope that you are doing amazing. Today we have a fun ranking video and we are going to be ranking all of my Natasha Denona palettes. I have quite a few here. I have been building my collection for quite some time now. I have 16 palettes here, so we're going to be ranking them from number 16 all the way to number 1, meaning the number 1 Natasha Denona palette that if I had to recommend to you, or if I had to get rid of all of them and can only keep one, that would be the number 1. Now, that's going to be quite a challenge because Natasha Denona is one of my favorite eyeshadow brands. They are very much on the expensive side, but the quality that you get is just A1. But if you would like to see all the palettes that I have, what palettes fall into what ranking number, and what sits at the top 3, well then you know what to do. Just keep on watching. Okay, so sitting at number 16, we have an old palette. Now this one I don't even think they sell anymore, but this is the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. And this is what she looks like. I believe this was my second ever purchased palette, and I remember loving it at the time. Like, look at the colors. We're talking literally sunset is the perfect name for it. We have a bunch of oranges and reds and browns, and honestly some of these shimmers still work now, but this palette is so old. Like, we're talking 4+ years, but the shimmers are still shimmering. I don't really ever reach for this palette much just because I have a ton of the other ones, and because it is so old, like most of this is probably expired. The mattes don't work anymore, but the shimmers are still really good. This color story is just very warm for me, and I find myself wanting to use more like taupe, neutral, and like cool tone colors, so that is why this one sits at number 16. Number 15, we have a mini palette, and this is the mini Pastel. This one is actually a recent purchase. I thought the colors were absolutely stunning, and just so you know, I love all of my Natasha Denona palettes. I am just ranking them based on like what excites me, how much I use them, how easy it is to create looks, and if I literally had to choose between them, where I would place what. So this one is going to sit at number 15. Super fun colors. I think this would be really nice for the springtime. However, there is no transition shades. Like, it's kind of difficult to create a look with this unless you're creating like a one color eye look, which is really what I bought it for. Like, if I want just this metallic blue, I would put that all over the eye. If I want this color, which is such a stunning shimmer shade, I feel like this is perfect for just single shadows to put all over the eye, even that mint color. So that is why I picked it up. But a lot of the other palettes are a lot easier to create a look with just one palette, so that is why this one sits at number 15. Number 14 is going to be another mini, and this is the mini Lila palette. I remember wanting the big Lila palette before, which is just all like berries, purples, and blues. So when I saw this one, I picked it up. It is just a very selective and vibrant palette. So you have those two berry colors, and then you have this like deep purple shimmer here, as well as this nice lighter one, and then a transition shade. So this transition shade helps the palette be a little bit more wearable, but once again, these three colors are very out there, so unless you want to do a dedicated look with it, it is a bit challenging to just create various looks with the palette. But overall, still so beautiful and so stunning. This one literally looks like blue, but then it also has a purple shift to it, which I think is absolutely stunning. But this one sits at number 14. Number 13 is going to be the first ever Natasha Denona palette that I picked up, and this is the eyeshadow palette number 2. Like, this is an OG palette, and it's pretty much just like all shimmer toppers with the exception of this matte in the middle. And when I purchased it, I wanted to just test out the formula. This palette retailed for $50, which is definitely a lot for just 5 shadows, but when I was swatching it, I remember I was with my sister. We were like, oh my god, this brand looks amazing, and they had their huge palettes that were like $200. So this was the most affordable that you can get at the time, and honestly still swatches beautifully. I feel like the Natasha Denona shimmers age really well. Like, I've had this one the longest, so definitely like 5+ years, and it still swatches so nicely. I feel like now, in the era that I am in right now, where I love mauve tones, I feel like I could definitely get good use out of it. But compared to all the other palettes, this one definitely sits lower on the scale because I tend not really to reach towards a lot of these smaller palettes, but definitely want to play around with this one as it holds a nostalgic place in my heart. Number 12, we have another mini, and this one is the mini Sunset. Now this is a neutral warm tone girl's dream. You have 3 shimmer shades and 2 mattes, which honestly you can create several warm toned looks. Like I said, I haven't really been leaning towards this one much just because I'm more into cool tone mauves. Like, who am I? I used to be a warm tone girl. I mean, I feel like the entire internet was. And now I've just been leaning more into like softer looks and not necessarily like bold, warm golds. But this is such a beautiful color story and I definitely do want to play around with this more. But that is why this one sits at number 12. At number 11 is going to be my last mini palette, and all the mini palettes are towards the bottom just because I don't really gravitate to those as much as I do to the larger ones. I feel like you just have a larger variety and I am just more interested, inspired by the bigger palettes. But here we have the mini star palette. Now this one is absolutely gorgeous and it's once again one of those mini palettes that you have metallic topper shades. I know for a fact that I picked it up for this color right here. It has such a beautiful shift. It has some brown, some blue in it. You also have this beautiful rose gold shimmer metallic to just be able to put on, and this like bronzy gold here, as well as 2 transition mattes to be able to play around with, which honestly works so beautifully. I remember having this one in my everyday work bag for whenever I wanted to just have something a little lighter or deepen up with a wing. We had that one. So this one is number 11. Okay, so now we are in the top 10 and we are going to be leaning into the larger palettes. Now here in number 10 we have the Glam face palette. Now this one has a blush, a highlighter, and 5 shades, but these shimmer shades in this palette literally are what made me pick this palette up. They have the light version, which is the one that I have here, and they also have a deeper one. That one is stunning, but by the time that I went to go purchase it, it was out of stock. These shimmers are just stunning. With each release of the palettes that would come out, I feel like her formula when it came to the shimmers was just getting better and better and better. And I find that her shimmer shades just look wet on the eye, which is just what I love. They have a great base and pigment to them, but these colors are absolutely stunning. And then of course the beautiful mattes. Honestly, I feel like this is such a great palette to just have in your bag if you go to work, if you go to school, or if you're traveling and you just want something that's going to give you some depth. You have your blush, you have your highlight, you have some sparkle, you have some mattes. You pretty much have it all here. So this is why this one sits at number 10. Moving on to number 9, we have the Sunrise palette. And this one honestly resembles the original Sunset palette that I have. We see a lot of those warm tone colors. We have some bronze, we have some pinks. This is just such a fun, warm color story, and I find that a lot of these colors are just really pretty to wear on their own. I feel like this palette is going to be perfect for the springtime as well as like now Valentine's Day, but it sits at number 9 because I do love a few of the other palettes just a tad bit more. Moving into number 8, we have the bronze palette. Now you would think that the bronze palette would sit a little higher, but the only complaint that I have about this specific palette is just that all the colors kind of look the same. It's a very monochromatic palette, but it does have beautiful, beautiful shimmers, which honestly all of her palettes have. But on the eye, they literally all kinds of look the same. So you don't really get many different looks or options for looks with this palette, but formula is still great. It's a great neutral palette. You get more metallics, I feel, than you do neutrals. So if you love your gold, bronzy metallics, this is a great palette for you. But for that reason, it sits at number 8. Number 7, we have a super exciting one, especially now since it's January when I am filming and February is coming up and we are all things Valentine's, all things love, hearts. We have the Love palette, and this one is so stunning. I definitely want to play around with this one more. It has beautiful, beautiful pinks. Like, look at these colors right here. This roll right there looks absolutely stunning. This purple looks gorgeous. It has a beautiful pink and purple shift to it, which I think is going to look absolutely stunning. You get that beautiful like silver here on top, that deep shade to be able to deepen up a look and also create a liner. You have a light enough shade right here to just be able to brighten up the inner corner, and it's actually what I used today. I'm just going to add just a little bit more to show you how I used it, but literally just like tap that into the inner corner to brighten it up. This palette overall, I have not played around with it enough, but I'm definitely keeping this one on my vanity table with palettes that I want to use up this month. Moving on, we have another oldie, and this is going to be palette number 6. I don't know why they discontinued it because it is literally one of their best palettes ever. So I hope that Natasha Denona brings this one back. It is the gold palette, and this is the ultimate neutral palette. Now, similar to the bronze palettes, you do have those bronzy neutral shades, but I love that we get those fun pops of colors underneath. We have this beautiful, beautiful green and this blue right next to it, but that green has a shift where it has some pink, it has some green, the blue has some shimmer particles in it. It just makes the palette so exciting. You also have this like navy color, we have the pukey yellow brown color, which is honestly such a staple in the collection. It just has literally every and any color that you can think of. I would say the only thing that's missing from here is a black and a matte inner corner color, but you can find those in other ones. I love this palette, and it's just ranking a little lower because it is discontinued, so we can't repurchase it, but definitely deserves an honorable mention. Sitting at number 5, we have the Juka palette. Now, packaging for this one is absolutely stunning, and the color story here, honestly, I did not think that I was gonna love this one as much as I did when I played around with it. It is such a fun color story, and I find that it works so nicely with my yellow skin tone. We have these beautiful metallic shades, like look at this purple, and even this one right here. We are just talking reflective. The Natasha Denona formula is just amazing. Her mattes are great, and for these colors being very like pastel-y and, you know, very colorful, they blend so nicely. So I'm definitely super excited to continue to use this one for the summertime, the springtime. Honestly, I feel like you can use this at any time, but this color story is so unique and I love it. Sitting at number 4, we have a newer addition to my collection, and this is the My Dream palette. I actually just got this one for Christmas. This is the one that I was missing from all of the latest launches, so I haven't played around with this one yet, but look at how stunning this palette is. Now, what caught my eye specifically is this color right here called Vision, because it has so many different shifts. Like here it's green, but then it's purple, it's pink on the screen, it's green for me, it's green here. It's just like, how many shades do you have in this color, which is absolutely stunning. The rest of them honestly resemble a bit of the Love palette, which I showed, but so many beautiful, stunning colors. Like look at that shimmer. Oh, absolutely stunning. I cannot wait to play around with this. I know this color story is going to be everything. These two colors together look like they're going to be amazing, so I just cannot wait to play around with it. All right, we are officially in the top 3 palettes of the Natasha Denona collection. Sitting at number 3, we have the Retro palette. Now, this palette is absolutely stunning. We have lots and lots of burgundies, mauves, pinky tones, which honestly, like I keep saying, I'm very into, and I feel like I'm gonna dabble into that a lot more this year. We have a lot of mattes, which honestly blend so beautifully, and of course we have those beautiful shimmer shades that I keep talking about. Natasha Denona is honestly, her brand just nails it when it comes to these specific shades. This color story is gorgeous. It'll go so well with this shirt that I have on, and I feel like it's such an everyday approachable palette because there's no crazy punchy colors, but you can definitely get some depth. You have an inner corner color, you have some deeper tones to just be able to take your look from day to night. Okay, so sitting at number 2, this was difficult because I didn't know which one I wanted to place at number 2 or number 1 because I love both of these palettes so much, but the decision had to be made, and sitting at number 2 is going to be the I Need a Nude. Now, this palette came out last year in 2023 and took the internet by the storm, and once again with good reason. It is just such a beautiful everyday palette, very soft taupey mauvey colors for you to just be able to use. We have the stunning toppers, we have different formulas here as well. We have some that look reflective and wet on the eye, which I am totally here for. I have used this palette a ton since I've gotten it, and I truly am in love with it. But when I was looking at all of my palettes, I said, but do I love this palette more than I Need a Nude? And it might be like 2% more, but I've got to say my number 1 Natasha Denona palette, if you haven't guessed it by now, is going to be the Glam palette. Now, look at this beauty. And the main reason why I picked this one as my number one is because I held them up side by side and I said which one has everything that I would need. And this one, although it has stunning beautiful colors, it does not give me the depth that this one gives me. We have that deep brown right on in the middle. We have lighter colors that we can use as inner corner shades, but then we have an array of beautiful metallics, which honestly just blow me away. And the reason why I also would pick this as the number one is because it is a neutral palette. It has honestly every possible shade that I would need for a day look, but also for a nighttime look, and to fulfill the name of glam looks with these beautiful shimmer toppers. So that is why the Glam palette is number one. Alrighty guys, well that concludes this video. That concludes the ranking of my 16 Natasha Denona palettes. Let me know if you own any of these and let me know which one is your absolute favorite. Thank you so much for being here and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!